Hi, I'm Marilee Sears. Thanks for joining me as we talk about 3 different ways that you can fill the gaps within your schedule. Ultimately, each of these is going to give you one way. Each of these videos will provide one way that you can add $10,000 of production to your schedule in the next 30 days. Now, depending on where you practice, depending on what your production is right now, that may sound like a lot. For some people, that might not sound like very much. I can tell you that following these steps that I'm going to be giving in today's video and in the following 2 videos, I've had clients that were able to increase their production by $12,000, over $20,000, and in one case, over $40,000 in just 1 month. So the results really depend a lot upon you. And so before we get started, I want to ask you to make a commitment. Because too often we get excited about something or we register for something and we get the information, but we fail to put it into action. We fail to see it all the way through. And so we fail to get the results. I can tell you years ago when I was transitioning my father's practice, I became a lot more disciplined. I became a lot more committed than I'd ever been in my entire life. I was getting up earlier than I'd ever gotten up before because I had to deal with things that were coming up. I had to put out fires. And time again, when the alarm would go off, I would want to stay in bed. But I came up with a mantra. And the mantra was, what matters most? Before I hit snooze, before I stayed in bed, I would ask myself, what matters most? Getting another 20 minutes of sleep or getting the practice transition? And I would remind myself of the ultimate goal, not the patient I needed to call back or the bank that I needed to call back, but of the ultimate goal. What matters most? Getting 20 more minutes of sleep or transitioning my father's practice successfully. I want you to think about that goal for yourself. Maybe that is an additional $10,000 of collections this month. Maybe it is having the best quarter or the best month that you've ever had in practice. Whatever that goal is that is going to light a fire under you, you have that same mantra whenever you have to make that choice about taking the easy way out. What matters most? What matters most? Getting back to my patient and cutting this hygiene exam short or having our best month ever? I want you to be that committed because when you actually put these steps into action, that is when you are going to see miraculous things happen within your practice. It doesn't always happen the first day. I've worked with a number of dentists now, enough that I see that there's a variety of results. Some people get the results immediately. And for others, they go, it doesn't work. And I say, keep trying. And they go, it doesn't work. And I say, keep trying. And they say, it doesn't work. And I say, keep trying. And then ultimately, they're like, it worked. And something just clicks. And I call that the Twinkie effect. And I think more frequently than not, that's what most of us need is that Twinkie effect. Is we try it the first time, and maybe it doesn't make that big of a difference. And you try it the second time, it doesn't seem like it makes that big of a difference. But as you get into the habit, suddenly it makes a difference. And the reason why I call that the Twinkie effect is because if you eat one Twinkie, say that you're trying to like stay healthy and stay fit, and you eat a Twinkie one day, it's not going to really make a difference when you look in the mirror. The next day, if you eat a Twinkie, and the next day if you eat a Twinkie, and the next day if you eat a Twinkie, after a while, you're going to start to notice the difference in the mirror. It's the same with the actions that you take on a daily basis. At first, it may not seem like it's working. I want to promise you that it does. So with no further ado, let's get started on this first step. And the first step is simply this. It's talking to your patients about all the possibilities. This may sound really, really basic, but let me tell you why it makes a big difference. Usually when we recommend a crown or a filling or whatever treatment to a patient, we just tell them what they need. And then maybe we have the financial coordinator present the treatment plan or we walk the patient up front to schedule the treatment. But what we fail to talk about is the different options that the patients have. And if we don't talk about it, patients can either choose to move forward with treatment or they're left wondering, okay, what happens if I do nothing? And they come up with their own story that a lot of times doing nothing sounds like the easier way out. So when I say you give your patients all the options, I'm telling you that you give them the first option of doing nothing. And what this allows you to do is to tell the patients both the benefits and then also the consequences of waiting or doing nothing when it comes to their treatment. So say that I'm talking with a patient about periodontal disease. The traditional way of doing this would be saying, oh, Susan, I want you to know that I'm seeing some inflammation, some bleeding. There's some 4 millimeter pockets. I'm just going to say how we really say this, right? There's some 4 or 5 millimeter pockets. There's bleeding. We need to have you come back for periodontal treatment. And Susan's going, okay. All right, so let's go ahead and get that scheduled and we move forward with Susan's treatment. Now, if we're looking at the statistics for dentistry, Susan's going to move forward with treatment about 1/3 of the time. 2/3 of the time, that patient's going to walk out the door and not move forward with their treatment. Whether it's periodontal therapy or a root canal or whatever it may be, 2/3 of the times, our patients are not following through with what we're recommending for them. So this is how you change that. is that I'll say to Susan, or you're going to say to Susan now, whether it's a crown or periodontal therapy, whatever it is, whatever the treatment is that you're recommending, Susan, I want to talk to you about what I'm seeing here today. I'm seeing inflammation and bleeding in your gums, and that lets me know that there's an infection there. So let me talk to you about what your options are. The first option is to do nothing. And the benefit from that is that it costs you nothing, and you won't have to make appointments to come back in, except, just keeping your regular 6-month appointments. And right now, is that causing you any pain? Okay, well, the other benefit is that right now it's not causing you any pain. Let me tell you the consequences that I see, though, if we do nothing. The first, that infection isn't going to go away on its own. It's going to get worse. And as that infection gets worse, it's more likely to spread. And as that infection spreads, not only does it spread to different teeth within your mouth that currently aren't infected or don't have that infection currently, the other thing that it'll do is that it's going to spread deeper into the roots of your teeth, and we're going to lose more and more bone support. So even if we do decide to treat it down the road, the result that you're going to get isn't going to be as good. You're more likely to have sensitivity or recession. That means that the root surface of your tooth shows, and there's nothing we can do to fix that recession besides surgery. So ideally, what I would like to do is I'd like for you to come in for periodontal treatment. Now, the thing that means is that you're going to have to come back for some appointments, for 2 more appointments in the next month. And we'll talk to you about what the payment options are for that. But the benefit is that where this infection is right now is it's quite localized, and we can get that taken care of before it starts spreading to other teeth, and while the result is going to be as good as possible. I don't expect that you're going to have very much recession, but I'll show you some areas where I am a little bit concerned that that could be the case. I don't expect that you're going to have much sensitivity, but again, I'll show you some areas where that could be the case. And but that's where you're going to get the best result. So what questions do you have for me? And that's how I go about presenting periodontal therapy to a patient when I'm giving them the different options. Now, let's say that you're presenting treatment to a patient who needs a filling or has a large filling that's breaking down. And so one option, again, is to do nothing. The next option is maybe to do a patch. And then the final option, and then the ideal option, is to do a crown. Same thing. You're going to start with the first option, which is doing nothing. Jerry, I want to tell you what I'm seeing with this tooth. There's fracture lines. That filling that is there right now, it looks like it is leaking. And if I can get my instrument in there, I know bacteria is definitely getting in there. So we have some options. First is we can do nothing. And the benefit of that is that you won't need to come in for another appointment, and it doesn't cost you anything right now. The second option that you have is that we can patch that filling. Now, the benefit of that is that it's pretty low cost. The consequence or the side effect of that is that it probably is not going to last very long. And one of the things with insurance is generally if they pay for one treatment on a tooth, they may not pay for if it needs something else. If that patch doesn't last, if that patch doesn't stick, they may say, okay, well, we've tried, and the rest is up to you. Now, ideally, what I think this tooth is saying that it needs is that it needs to have a crown where we can cover that entire tooth and reduce any risk of that tooth fracturing or breaking. Now, that does mean that you'll need to come in for another appointment so we can prepare that tooth, and it does mean you're going to have a temporary crown for a few weeks. But the benefit is that that tooth is very unlikely that that tooth will break in the next couple of weeks until we get that tooth prepared. I don't think you're going to have a toothache, and the possibility of either losing that tooth or needing something more expensive because that tooth breaks, it's highly unlikely. And so what questions do you have for me, Jerry? I'm just presenting it like that. Now, this might sound really simple, but I want you to try it. Please don't discount something just because it sounds simple. In fact, I don't want you to discount anything that you hear in this video or the following 2 videos because it's either something you've heard before or something that you've even tried before. The question is, am I doing this right now? And if not, that you need to start implementing it again and commit to that to the next 30 days. Because all I can tell you is that Twinkie effect, it really does make a difference. Now, one thing you do get to decide is how big of a difference you want to have on your schedule. If you have lots of room, go ahead, watch these 3 videos and commit to implementing all 3 steps. If you just have maybe an hour to 2 hours each day of open time, then listen to these videos, watch these videos, and decide which one you're going to implement immediately, and then the other ones you can implement down the road. You only have so much time, and I'd rather that you make one a habit than you try to make all of these changes and nothing sticks. So this is my final homework, is that I want you to go ahead now and put a reminder on your phone or on your computer or on your schedule. What you're going to do with this reminder is each morning you're going to remind yourself of what you are implementing. With this one, it's giving your patients all of the options. including the option of doing nothing, but then also including what the consequences are of doing nothing. And then I want you to put a reminder on your phone at noon so you can check in and see if you have been doing this. Again, this is a new habit. I know that takes some time for that habit to become routine. So check in with yourself at noon and then put another reminder on your phone in the evening so you can check in, see what you did well that day and what you're committing to for the following day. That's it. I will see you tomorrow in your inbox with the next video. I'm looking forward to helping you fill your schedule and add at least $10,000 to your production in the next 30 days. See you tomorrow.